Right. Here we go. Sorry, guys, we're just getting settled in and getting everything set up. I hope everyone can hear me, and welcome to episode 2 of Curtain Chatter. We kind of tripled in registrations and attendees since our last session. So thank you so much for the support. It's so exciting.
That's what you mean.
Yeah, all because of Al. So I have Alan Riley here all the way from the West Coast to be featured on this episode. He's our director of underwriting and leads the entire underwriting team, and he's absolutely awesome. So Alan, thank you so much for being here with me today.
Thank you very much for inviting me. It's a pleasure.
All the way from the West Coast.
The West Coast.
We're very honored to have you at the Toronto headquarters. So for those of you who don't know Al, he's been in the industry for 20 plus years.
20 plus years, yep.
Yep, 20 plus years. His expertise is just truly unmatched. He's worked for other lenders before, all in underwriting, and has just been incredible. We're so grateful to have him on the team. And he's also hilarious. I don't know if you guys know that about him, but he has the best dad jokes in town. In fact, we actually bought him this dad jokes mug, and he's only allowed to drink from this mug from now on. So
coffee's better in this mug.
I think so. It's a great mug. But no, seriously, we're so grateful to have you on the team. You're absolutely amazing, and everyone loves you. Brokers love you. So let's
quite the build-up thing.
Yeah, don't let me down here. Okay, so we're going to jump into it. Basically, this session is just focused on deal pitfalls and, what kind of goes wrong with deals and how to essentially help you guys fund more deals with Glass Lake and really just get the knowledge straight from the source, straight from Al himself. So let's jump into it.
Okay, sounds good.
And I do want to say, if you guys have any questions, please save them for the end, and we'll definitely get to them. Just put them in the chat, and I'll be happy to answer anything that you guys have. Okay, so Al. What's the biggest broker slip up you see over and over again that instantly makes a deal hard to fund?
The biggest slip up is typically it's a very easy one to fix. It's just not enough notes on a file. In the environment that we're in now, speed is key. So you want to try and make your files speedy to underwrite. So if you can give some fairly comprehensive notes, I don't want to waffle on for ages, but good, quick, concise notes so that the underwriter can review them, know what's going on. It really helps adjudicate the file. You'd be surprised how many deals we see that just come through the door saying, refi, state of income, 75%, please. That's not really enough for us to get the details and get the file moving.
What about the note? Spoke to the sales rep about this one. About this deal. I see that a lot.
You know what? Yeah, we see that one with a degree of frequency, and I understand. Brokers they're trying to package the file so they talk to a BDM. But I think it's important for once you spoke to the BDM and you've got some advice from the BDM, pop that in your notes.
Yeah.
Because if you just say spoke to the BDM, now the underwriter has to track down the BDM.
Right.
And ask them, what did you discuss with the broker? So still, even though you've spoken to the BDM, which is a perfect first start.
Yeah.
Notes going into the file really helps the underwriting team.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And what are the steps that brokers can kind of take to get that commitment quickly and out the door, before sending it to you or
absolutely.
During?
So again, speed is key right now. So most lenders are really trying to underwrite to the broker submission. Not ask too many questions, not ask for any documents up front, but just to the actual submission. So again, not to harp on notes, but good quality notes are good.
Notes.
Yep. Data accuracy within whatever platform you use. Especially if you're dealing with a lot of non-subject properties. Make sure you've lined those up correctly so an underwriter isn't spending time going from the credit bureau back to the application, trying to line it all up. A mistake we see sometimes is maybe if you've worked with a client multiple times, you haven't really updated the app from 9 months ago when they bought the property to doing this refi now. So it can be tough to follow along. So just data accuracy, notes, Googling the property right now. The market's, it's on a bit of a downward trend. Nothing too scary, but, clients typically think their house is worth more than it is. Or their property in general is worth more than it is. So spending a little bit of time just to kind of look at comps in the area, just to know that you're dealing with a realistic value is helpful for us because we're going to do the same on our end. And then finally, also Googling the clients. Google the client's name. Every lender will Google the client's name. So if you see some negative media, you can address that with the underwriter up front.
Right.
And obviously, depending on what's found, it can make a difference to the deal.
Yeah, well, it's going to come up eventually, right? So might as well
It
get
will.
everything, out there at the beginning and get the commitment out.
Exactly. And then maybe I'll touch just a bit on the
Yeah.
notes. Kind of some of the things that you want to talk about in your notes is just the overall deal. Make sure you understand the overall deal. Make sure that's in notes, because from an underwriting perspective, it's very tough to approve a file that you don't quite understand. There's many times I'm like, why is this guy doing this transaction? I just can't get my head around it. So yeah, if you can address that or via a phone call with the underwriter, that's also really helpful as well.
So really just to understand the story so we can help, decision the deal a little bit better and quickly.
Yeah.
That makes sense. This is a good one. What's the biggest misconception brokers have about underwriting?
That is it's a tricky one. I would say something that I hear time and time again throughout my career is the feedback that brokers feel like maybe underwriters are not trying to get the deal done. They're trying to kill the deal, find excuses not to do the deal, which in my experience is the furthest from the truth, especially in the alt space, which is my whole background, 20 years in the alternative space. Structuring deals to get them done is key.
Yeah.
And that's something that we talk about a lot here at Glass Lake in our meetings is, sometimes a broker positions a deal a certain way, which may be great and might work for what the client wants, but it might not be how we view the deal. So we might try and repackage it, restructure it, but we really want to make deals and get the deals across the finish line. I mean, it's written on the walls. I don't know if they can see it, but yeah, there are deals to be made here. So I think that's the biggest misconception that underwriters.
So you're not a deal killer.
We are not deal killers. We're here to make the deal, and we know that money's only made once we put money out the door. So.
Yeah, we'll provide those options to kind of give the client and the broker something to work with and to really try to make that deal. At the end of the day, we want the best solution for that client and to make brokers' lives easier, right?
Make the brokers' lives easier. You nailed it.
That's the goal. Okay, and what's the easiest way to kind of turn a maybe into a yes with Glass Lake? They got the notes and the data accuracy and all of that. How do we kind of turn that into a yes?
That's a good one. You know what? I'm just going to pause for a sec. So I'm a bit thirsty.
Okay.
Going to have a little drink of water here.
What's that Glass Lake branded water?
It is. It's Glass Lake branded water.
So funny.
Yeah.
He's hilarious, you guys.
Tastiest water ever.
Refreshing, just like Glass Lake.
That's right. Now, what was the question again? I got distracted.
How to turn a maybe into a yes.
Yeah, I think the easiest and honest way, and we're really big on this at Glass Lake, is just pick up the phone.
Okay.
People can banter backwards and forwards. And I've seen it time and time again. Email back. Let's just connect over the phone. And it's not necessarily the broker's responsibility to pick up the phone. It's the underwriter's responsibility as well. And just talk about it. And then talk about the pitfalls, the strengths, and then just make the deal.
Communication.
Yeah, communication is the key.
Both understand the story a little bit
Yeah.
more, and emails back and forth. Things just get miscommunicated.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so communication, that's great. Thank you for that insight. And what's one thing that immediately kills a deal before you even get started on it?
Ooh, immediately kills a deal.
What's a deal killer?
I think maybe going back to immediate deal killers are, Googling the client up front. If we Google the client and they've been involved in any kind of, AML concerns, fraudulent activity, drug dealing, it's really tough to recover from that one. Also, Googling the property again, we want to lend on what we feel are good marketable properties. So if you've got a situation where, there's a railroad track almost going right through the backyard, it's good to know that up front. And I'm not saying that would necessarily kill a deal, but it might temper the loan to value a little bit just to offset the risk of the marketability of the property.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Yes, and we have a saying, we'll do properties in secondary and even tertiary markets, but we say secondary, not shady. So
Shady? That's not the word we use.
It's shitty, actually.
Yeah.
Thanks for putting me on the spot there.
She's trying to be polite.
I'm trying to be
We're all
polite.
friends.
We're on camera.
Yeah, we're all friends. But that's accurate. I mean, we lend in across Ontario, BC, Alberta, and we lend in all the markets. But we still want good real estate.
Good
You know,
real
we're
estate.
not going to lend on a shack that's about ready to tip over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, and how can brokers help speed up the funding process instead of slowing it down? What can they
Okay, that's good. So the funding process. So, you know, we talked a little bit about how to get maybe an approval
Yeah.
quickly. So the next part is getting across the finish line.
Yeah.
So I think from a broker side of things, for us, it's to try and get documents in quickly to us, and for us to review them quickly for you. It's a two-way street.
Yeah.
But also managing the broker, we find a lot of delays, maybe even at the point of signing with their lawyer. You know, we instruct our lawyer and we get quite a lot of time. Oh, the lawyer gets back to, sorry,
Yeah.
the client hasn't engaged their ILR or hasn't communicated with their ILR. So if you can manage that expectation, make sure you know who their lawyer is, get that information into us quickly so we can instruct early in the game.
Right.
You know, every time we touch a file, we're trying to progress it further and further to the finish line. You know, we're not going to necessarily wait till we're doc complete to instruct the file. We're going to get that file instructed as quickly as possible. And then if you can kind of guide the client in that direction too, to start the conversations with their lawyer so they can get in to sign in a timely fashion, and that just keeps the file moving forward.
And you tell the broker when that's happening as well, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you can, our rule of thumb is to try and instruct a deal within 48 hours of the
Nice.
sign back. So yeah,
Awesome.
we move pretty swiftly there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. I want to touch on credit a little bit.
Sure.
You know, really just knowing the story behind the credit score.
Yep.
You know, we see a lot of BFS self-employed clients here at Glass Lake, and they sometimes have some high utilization on their credit cards. So can you touch on the importance of just understanding the story behind the credit score for us? And
Yes. The story is key, especially again in the alternative space. And when it comes to, you know, maybe the lower FICOs or some poor credit history, you know, we expect to sometimes see, like Emily said, we deal a lot of BFS clients. So, you know, they tend to maybe run their business by leveraging their credit cards a little bit. So that can sometimes knock the FICOs down a little bit. But if they pay them well, you know, we can get past that. Likewise, we see a lot of people that have maybe constructed a new home and they've leveraged their credit cards for some, you know, there's always cost overflows on a construction. So, you know, they can be a little bit highly utilized there and that can bring the FICO down. That's not a big deal. I think when you get into some issues is when there's actually derogatory credit history, you might have to dig a little bit deeper there. And, you know, no lender really wants to see somebody who's habitually late all the time.
Yeah.
You know, that's a tough one to talk out of. But often there's a true life, a life event that's happened. So if you can know what's happened, talk about it, we can see that it's isolated to a certain part of their credit history and they've moved on and we know why that's not going to happen again. You know, that's something that we can move fast. So yeah, that the story can have a real big impact, and not just the credit, like just the overall story of the deal can really have an impact on how an underwriter views it.
So it comes down to communication as well, and just being transparent with us too,
Yes,
right?
transparent.
Transparent,
I like that.
like a Glass Lake. Exactly. Okay, this is a good one. So what do you hear often when a deal kind of falls apart last minute or gets canceled last minute on the broker side? What is it that you hear? Like, what's the reason?
Most frequently.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So that's an interesting one. So there's two that I see to a fair degree of frequency, which I don't get. But some of you understand, okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But the ones that I don't get that I still see is when a commitment isn't signed back, which happens, we know that. Often I get client didn't proceed with the purchase. But often, you know, we're an alternative lender, so often the condition of financing has already been removed. So you find yourself wondering, did they really walk away from this purchase, or was there just another solution that was found? And then maybe post sign back, we've had a few that have made it all the way to the lawyer's office, and we get told near the end, clients are completing with cash, which that one's always an interesting one as well.
Yeah, and we get it. the new kids on the block and.
We are, yeah.
Yeah, but transparency, we love.
Yeah, exactly. No one wants to be a backstop, you know.
No,
If you've
yeah.
exhausted some options and you come to us, that's what we're here for, and
Yeah.
you get deals done for you.
Fill that
But we
gap.
ask that once you're with us, stay with us, don't
Yeah.
continue shopping the deal. But also, clients are getting a bit more savvy. So sometimes you find
Yeah.
that they're working with
Sure.
more than one broker. And
Yeah,
it's tough.
it's tough. Okay, and if you were a broker for a day, what's the first thing you would do differently? Than what
If
you
I was a
do?
broker for a day,
Put yourself in their shoes.
I think it depends on certain situations and markets. Like I think right now in the market that we're in right now, I would definitely spend a little bit more time on the property and the valuation upfront. We've seen many deals where the values come in a lot lower than expected. Sometimes we can make that deal work. Sometimes we can pivot. We can maybe secure another property that they own and still get the deal done. So it doesn't always mean that the deal's not going to go forward. But obviously we've lost a few to the values coming in way under
Yeah.
expecting. So if I'm a broker, their time valuable too. You don't want to
Yeah.
you don't want to spend all your time on a deal that ultimately just gets crushed when the appraisal comes in.
Yeah, can you give an example of that? Like when it came in a little bit lower, like, is it like when they purchased a couple years ago and maybe they just didn't?
Yeah, two main ones right now are when they've entered pre-constructions.
Okay.
2020 had a height of the market, 2022, and then it's just coming to completion now. Those are coming a little bit lower right now. And then also just your typical refi, client thinks the house is worth more than it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay, what's one thing a broker can do before they even submit a deal to make underwriting love them? How do you get on underwriting's good side?
Oh, I don't want to harp on the same things, but I think, just good notes. And then build a relationship with your underwriter. And again, it's a two-way street. That it's not just, I say the same thing to my underwriters, build a relationship with the
Yeah.
broker. You can't build a relationship via email. Pick up the phone, talk to them, and solution deals together.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that makes sense. And if a deal is almost dead, it's on the edge, what's the best way to revive it? Like, what's the best way the broker can revive it?
I think it's almost the same answer that I
It's the
just
same.
gave. Like
Guys,
the best way
sum it
to
up.
do is just to pick up the phone, talk about it, let us know what's happening, why is this deal taking a left-hand turn, and then we just brainstorm as an underwriting
Yeah.
unit and as a broker, and sometimes you can resuscitate them.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can't.
Yeah.
But let's just make sure we are like looking at all the different angles that you can try and get the deal done. I think that's
Yeah.
something that we do really well at Plus, like just
I
to
agree.
really look at all the angles to try and make a deal work.
Yeah, and it's about even asking brokers, what do you need to get this deal done? What do you need to sell this deal to your client? And then, underwriting takes that back and provides some optionality for them so that they can sell that deal
That's right.
to their client. We want to work with them and really make sure we're providing multiple solutions for that one client, because at the end of the day, we're here for the clients to
Yeah,
help them
exactly.
and to fill that gap in the market.
But I think that's a good point here is multiple options.
Multiple options.
Especially right now, we have 1-year terms, 2-year terms,
Yeah.
3, 5, 7-year terms. And we're finding that a lot of clients are looking for a little bit of stability right now.
Yeah.
They
sure.
don't just want to take a 1-year term and
Yeah.
then have to worry about requalifying next year or heavy renewal fees and things like that. So we like to give term options as well,
Yeah.
give them some stability.
Yeah, and from the broker side, if you do have a commitment in hand and you want to see some other options from us, I would just encourage you guys to ask your underwriter and see
100%, yeah.
what they can kind of work with you on. Because we want to make deals, so let's make a
Let's
deal.
make a deal.
That actually leads me into my next question. If you had to sum up your underwriting philosophy in 3 words, what would it be?
In 3 words.
3 words, very specific.
I think I'm just going to default to 4 words. I think, and let's make a deal. Let's make a deal. That's what we do all day, every day. Is talk about these deals and try and find a solution that works for all 3 parties: broker, lender, client.
Yeah. Okay. And there's one thing that brokers should take away from this session. What would it be?
one thing I think would be know your deals as well. And I know it's tough sometimes, especially if you're a newer agent. We see it with newer underwriters. You know, they'll run a deal by them. Oh, did you ask this question? Oh no, I didn't. And that comes with time and experience. But know your deals as best you can. We see it fairly frequently. We go and ask a broker questions. They're like, oh, I got to go find that out. So it really helps if you understand the deals, and we could just talk openly and come up with a solution quickly.
That makes sense. Yeah, I mean, and even if you guys need extra resources or anything like that, like in terms of deal notes and what to kind of submit pre-commitment and post-commitment, we just launched our broker resources page a couple months ago. Ravani, I don't know if you're online, but if you could put that in the chat for me, and you guys can visit that and download some resources. And we're always looking to hear what you guys need, and we can kind of work with you and launch some other stuff for you guys to leverage to help make the transaction easier. But yeah, I think that kind of summarizes our little spiel. What do you think?
I do, and leverage us. Like you can call the underwriters to help talk out a deal. Our sales staff is fantastic. Reach out to Edwina, reach out to Jake, Romano, and they'll help you structure deals and give you an idea of what notes to do. Like, again, back to notes, we do a lot of BFS clients, so just a little note on what their business is all about. It doesn't have to be long. Just in what's the business all about, and where did you get your stated income from?
Yeah. We do have some questions in the chat, which I will be reading on my phone. So I've been looking up and down here, but let's start with the first one. Oh, okay, lots of. Can you give an example of a deal that was restructured to be approved? Do you have one top of mind? Or even just like a generalized?
Yeah, I can actually do one right now. It's actually funding today. And it was a deal where the deal was submitted and the client was buying a property. Believe it was in Alberta. And when I looked at it up front, to me, it looked like there was some maybe future potential value involved in it.
Okay.
And we like to obviously base our values off as this value. So I said, okay, let's just pay attention to that appraisal to make sure the appraiser understands that we need it as a residential as is value. So it did. It came in, I think, $200,000 light. No panic because we were expecting it. So I had already prepped the broker that if need be, we can take a look at a couple of his other properties. They had other properties. So in the end, we just placed a collateral charge on the other property in order to keep the loan amount the same. So
cool. But thank you. That's helpful. Some deals just aren't meant to be done. Yes, Clarence, that's great.
That's a statement.
Yeah,
Statement, not a
that's a
question.
statement.
But I agree.
I had to read it.
There are just some that can't be done. That's nature of our business.
Okay, oops, let's go to the bottom here. How competitive are your rates and fees? Why isn't there a rate sheet grid based on beacons and LTV? That's a good one.
That's a good one. So I think our rates and fees are very competitive. And I like the takeaway to be that we can be very flexible. We have a target of what we think we want to price this deal at. And that's why the conversation is very important with the broker. What can you sell the client? And we can also toggle the rate versus the fee, maybe up the fee a little bit to bring the rate down, or high the rate to bring the fee down a little bit if need be. Or sometimes the broker's doing actually, we were just talking to a group of brokers last night. Sometimes they're doing a broker fee, so getting paid by us isn't as important. Right. So if we eliminate the compensation, that can come off the rate. So there's a number of ways that we can make a deal work and play around with the rates and fees. And I think one of the thoughts I have is why we don't have a rate sheet, and sometimes a lot of alternative rate lenders don't have rate sheets, is we don't want to pigeonhole us. So we don't want you to look at that rate sheet and be like, well, that's going to be too high, I'm not going to send it in. Because we want to try and curate deals to your needs, and we can discuss that and then price accordingly.
Thank you. That was perfectly stated.
Okay.
I agree. Okay, perfect. Let's see here. Is it possible to secure a deal with companies' assets, or does it have to be a property to be secured in all deals, or does there have to be a property to be secured in all deals?
Yes, we specialize in residential and small commercial, and we also have a large commercial department, but they are all real estate based. Yeah.
Will you fund a mortgage to pay capital gains taxes assessed via a property crystallization?
Read that one again.
Pay capital gains taxes assessed via a property crystallization?
Fund a mortgage to pay capital gains. I mean, if you need money for any particular reason, we can look to fund deals for almost any reason. So I would say, yeah, we're open to that.
Perfect. Daniel asks, is there an email address or telephone line for pre-submission inquiries? Daniel, if you email sales@glasslake.ca, all of our, general pre-submission inquiries can go there. Or if you know who your RSM, regional sales manager is, to email them directly as well. I think someone will paste that in the chat there. I think that's all the questions. Is there anything else you want to add?
No, I would just say, you know what, we've been around for about 2 years now, and I feel that the broker network has really embraced us. It's a really exciting time for us. We're growing quickly. We're a lean, mean machine here, and everybody is very, very hungry for business. So, keep them coming, and we'll do our best to help you out.
Amazing. Perfect. I do just want to quickly mention our Wavemakers Broker Rewards program that we have. So if you fund $1 million a month with us, you get access to exclusive perks that change month over month, such as rate coupons, you get marketing dollars, sponsorship dollars. You'll also get, speedy commitments and messages from Alan right away. He's going to prioritize his Wavemakers with deals. So fund $1 million a month with us, get access to all of those exclusive perks. And if you have any questions about that, please just let me know. But yeah, we look forward to doing some business with all of you. And thank you so much for the support and for attending. And we hope to see you at the next Current Chatter episode.
Yes, thanks very much. Good
Thanks
work.
so much, Al. Woo!